the New Yorker article about you.
No.
This is a direct quote. This métier has been defined in part by Adam Scott's physical appearance, which straddles the line between hunky and nondescript, medium height, slightly hangdog eyes, thick chestnut hair that juts like a cockatiel's crest. So is that how you describe yourself?
100%. Look,
that's my,
she nailed it.
That's my country club, Cockatiel's Crest.
That's right.
Yeah, New Yorker's good at doing descriptions of actors. When they did a story of me years ago, the guy spent like 2 paragraphs on like the right side of my face versus the left side of my face.
Really?
Yeah, how like one side worked and one side didn't.
So in that New Yorker piece, which I loved, but it points out that you don't like being called great, or you have a hard time when people are like, you're great.
I don't want anyone to think that I think I'm great,
Right.
Which is, I've been in it for a long time, but also grew up watching actors and stuff, and actors getting actory and humble bragging about, oh yeah, no, I'm so grateful, all that stuff. It's all very kind of, I just don't want to fall into the trap of anyone thinking that I think I'm great, and I want to assure anyone who cares that I don't.
But still, you won't allow eye contact with anyone on set.
That's
so
true.
the part
That's true.
for me that I just don't.
But that's a whole separate thing.
Okay.
I don't know if you know this. Ben had considered me for a role in the series early on.
Uh-huh.
Ben, do you have any regrets with the casting?
I had talked to Mike about playing Rickon.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, you would have been a great Rickon.
Great.
But the actor's great also.
It's great. Michael Chernus.
He's great.
Great.
Yeah.
Yes, I do, Mike. I do regret it. Sitting here now with you on your podcast, I definitely regret it. But Mike, I feel like a little kinship with you because there's that thing of being an actor and being a director and a writer and creating your own stuff. And sometimes the way the people in the business like look at you probably is like, well, Mike's doing his thing. Mike does his own movies. Mike does his stand-up. Mike does his podcast. Mike creates his own stuff. Do you feel that?
Yeah, completely.
Yeah. And it's like a weird thing where sort of like it just sort of like crosses over into, oh yeah, Mike Birbiglia could do that. It's like, but yeah, but Mike is like, would Mike do that? Is Mike doing his own thing? That whole,
right.
And I feel like I've experienced that too. And I'm not saying that that's an excuse for why you're not playing Rickon. We did go down the road on it though, so I will take responsibility.
We
for that.
did.
Yeah.
And interesting in that New Yorker article, you were pointing out that you had to audition after Ben was like, so you got it.
Yeah.
Apparently, I'm not as in charge as I thought I was.
That's right. That's right.
So basically, Ben, and interestingly, one of the things that you said in that piece about Adam in the New Yorker was you were like, because you guys have ended up becoming collaborators and not just an actor-director relationship. You're a producer on the show, and you were like, so much of collaboration is like really having the same taste or similar taste. And do you guys ever disagree on what is not Severance enough or too Severance or exactly Severance?
I feel like we're pretty much in sync.
Yeah.
Don't you think?
Yeah. And I also am smart enough to follow Ben's lead because, when we started in season 1 and there was nothing, one of the most satisfying things about making stuff is just at a very base level where there was nothing, there is now something that you and your collaborators made. That's super fun. But so when we started, there was nothing except this weird set and Ben just sort of being like, I don't know. I feel like maybe it's this. And it was like a brand new weird thing. And we were all like, okay, let's try that, and we kind of eventually all were like, oh yeah, okay, this is fun, this feels weird, and kind of found it together. But I got to sort of really see how Ben's always seeing the whole grid at all times, right? Like everything is being looked after.
Yeah.
Because for me, sometimes I get caught up in my head if I'm working on something and it's like, okay, well, if I'll do that for you, but not trusting, like, is the audience going to be aware that we're going at this certain speed up the hill? And does it make sense for people to be chasing us if we're doing this and for me to be reacting? And sometimes when you kind of start bringing those things up, you get the sense that whoever's in charge hasn't even considered any of this before. And so that's what I get in my head about as an actor sometimes. If I'm like, okay, if you want me to do that, all these other things need to make sense. With Ben, it's all been worked out and make sense. So yes, we're aligned, but I also know if we're at a fork in the road, I can totally trust going down his way.
I read that you got a concussion.
Yeah.
And that it's on film.
Yeah.
But I haven't gotten to that part of the season yet.
Yeah, I can't.
You can't say
How, because it would spoil something. But yeah.
That's such a classic thing where I'm sure you've had this over the years where when someone gets injured on a set, it's just like, did we get it?
Oh, he came up to me pretty quickly after it happened and was like, dude, it looks great.
You're going to love this.
That was amazing. How many fingers am I holding?
Yeah.
What's your birthday?
That's right.
What's your birthday? This is going to be a great episode.
Tell me your name.
Right.
Yeah, no, I mean, when something like that happens, it's awful because it's happened and you can't,
Oh, it's awful, yeah.
It's like once it happens, it happens. And we can't really talk about it, how it happened. But, yeah.
I thought of it the other day because I'm watching Night at the Museum for the first time when it came out.
Be honest, it's your 20th time. Come on, Mike.
It wasn't my age group.
Yeah,
when it
Mike
came
says,
out.
He told me earlier because I watched Night at the Museum. I'm sorry, I just watched it for the first time because when it came out, I wasn't quite. I'm like, yeah, it's not your demo. I get it.
Yeah,
you're not like a single
Don't
guy.
worry.
Watch Night at the Museum.
I was 26
when it
years
came out.
old,
Right.
single in New York City, kicking back, watching Night at the Museum.
Not going to go to the matinee by
date
yourself.
night.
My daughter's 9 and we're watching it. And of course, you guys know, now we've watched it 6 or 7 times.
Sure.
Like I know like all the frames. But like one of the things I noticed is like you like hop over the museum like desk in it.
Yeah, like when I'm running
Ben
from the
can
dinosaurs.
do that?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I said Ben could do that in 2006.
Ben
Right.
could.
Right.
Honestly, you made me think because we just did this little pickleball movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I have like a 2-day part in it.
Yeah.
We were producing it, and my character, like, is it's a ridiculous movie, and like characters like running away in a scene, like, and there was like at a tennis club, and there was like a fence or like a railing, right? And I was like, oh. I'll do the thing where I push off and I like flip my legs over.
Yeah.
I swear. The first take, I like barely cleared it, but then like hurt my ankle when I dropped over. And then there's like director's like, great, we missed it. I think we do get it. Do it a couple more times. I'm like, oh no.
Yeah.
There's not. And literally in the movie, it's me jumping up. My feet land on top of the railing, and then I go. I do it in 2 steps. So it's funny. It's like,
No, I was so impressed. He fully clears it. It's like
Yeah.
the museum desk, and he clears
we
it.
were young and bold.
That
and excited.
desk is quite high.
I will say, like, I hadn't seen those movies. You and I have been friends for like almost
A long
15
time,
years.
yeah.
And like, is it ever, Adam, intimidating working with Ben, knowing like he kind of can do anything? Like, I apologize for complimenting you so hard, but it's like, it's a little much.
Yeah.
It's a little bit, and he can act, and he can direct, and he can write. It's like kind of a lot.
Yeah, no, and I've told Ben many times I was one of the people on Sunday nights in the early 90s getting high and watching the Ben,
Ben
Stiller
Stiller show.
I mean, and then
one of the people.
Yeah, one of the
You were on the
people.
roster.
That's right.
There were not a lot of people.
And then Reality Bites, that was their
Oh my
opening
God.
weekend. That
Come
was
on.
a huge deal.
Yeah.
And still, when I watch that movie, it feels it's really resonant. Have you watched it in the past few years?
I think I watched it with Ella, my daughter, like 3 years ago.
I'm so
There's a
curious.
completely
what Ella thought.
ridiculous interview with Ben recently at the New York Times where the interviewer was like, Reality Bites isn't really resonant today.
I didn't
Ben's like, it
understand
kind of
that.
is actually.
I think it was that Gen X's fear of selling out. He didn't understand
Right. That everybody's selling. I think that was his take, that everybody's selling out now, or like that like with Instagram and social media. But I mean, honestly, like what I've found about it, it's just like my daughter's, just graduating from college, and it's that period. And I remember that period of time in my life when it was like, what do you do? How do you become a person?
Of course.
Yeah. And I think that the Generation X kind of phobia of selling out, I think that's probably where that comes from at the beginning of the show when you're asking me about my fear of thinking that people might think that I think I'm great.
Yeah, sure.
I think that's kind of the vestiges of that might be in, because when I watch Reality Bites, I so connect with sitting around with like Brady Bunch trivia and smoking cigarettes, and it was kind of it's specific to the time, but also the kind of disposition of I don't want to, dangle my foot out there and make anyone think that I'm going to sell out even for a second. That was a really strong position with all of us back then, or with some of us. I
No,
guess.
completely.
Yeah.
One of my favorite things is that in that final episode when Helly shows up as her Innie self in the Outie world, and she sees like at the expo, it's like all these videos of her being like, it's great to have an Innie life and an Outie life and all this stuff, but it's like she doesn't agree with it. And I was thinking, like, do you relate to that in relation to, because you've been like a blockbuster movie star. Have you ever been in a situation where it's like there's like posters of you in Times Square, things like that, where you're like, oh, this feels so odd because I'm me, and that's that.
Yeah. It's more when you guys will have a conversation, it's like, oh, Ben's, you've done this or that, and say these things that I've done.
Right, but
but like that. Yeah, and I'm like so grateful for all of it that it's happened. But also there is a big part of me that's like, okay, I guess that happened, and I know it's there because people come up to me.
Happened.
No, but
that's so in the Outie, by the way.
it is,
Yeah.
and it's like there, but for the grace of God, you know what I mean? Like
Right.
it's just like a lot of it is luck, and I've. By the way, a lot of people have written about that too.
Sure.
It's
right.
like
Right. I've written about that critically.
But it's like
sure.
whatever it is, it's like the thing that always gets me in a positive way that does surprise me is when people come up to me, people, when I see them on the street or whatever, they recognize me, human beings, come up and say something to me about something they saw. And they're genuinely like, I really like that. I really appreciate that. Or, this woman came up to me yesterday. We were doing this town hall thing. And she said, my husband and I went to see Reality Bites on our first date. And we're still married, and this is whatever, how many years ago. And I was like, wow, that's really cool. That's a thing in their relationship that they have. And I appreciate that so much. And that's it's not like it's surprising, like, but it's something that I always take in.
Yeah.
And that resonates with me more than like seeing a picture on a thing or whatever, because that's just whatever. It's weird,
Yeah, it's weird. Like I my relationship with you is like you were kind enough to tweet about Sleepwalk with me in 2012 when it was at Sundance, and then we got in touch, and then you made the cameo in Don't Think Twice, and it was like, there was a period of time where I had to make the leap from that you are this iconic movie star film director to no, you're Ben and you're a person and you're supportive of our other artists. Like, Adam, have you had did you have a leap with Ben where he went from the public him to him?
Yeah, because like going from what I was talking about earlier, from like being into the Ben Stiller show and Reality Bites, and then seeing and flirting with disaster, and then seeing Ben become this giant star, having already been a fan when he was like his MTV show and then the Fox show,
Sure.
and seeing him become this giant movie star, and always kind of feeling, having never met the person, always feeling like, oh yeah, that's a legit like artist. That's like one of us that's
Yeah.
up there like doing cool shit on a grand scale. And then actually getting to like meet him and work on Walter Mitty. That's where we kind of got to know each other a little bit. And actually getting to watch Ben direct that giant movie.
But what I wonder, Adam, is like why you still won't let me make eye contact with you on
Yeah,
set.
that is weird.
Or anybody else on the set.
Again, that's a separate thing.
It's not separate though. I feel like you're
No,
trying to
but I feel like
separate these
maybe,
two things.
yeah, or maybe you're trying to somehow, like, is it a tactic or something?
Listen,
like,
I'm just trying to focus on the things I need to focus on,
Okay.
and eye contact with you isn't one of them.
I
Do
just
you know
think
what I
it's
mean, Mike?
weird
But
that,
what-
like, you won't look at our producers and
Right.
our camera people
I know they're there.
or sound recordists.
I understand they're all there,
yeah, well,
fine.
they also know they can't look at you, and that's, you know,
which is great. Great for them. They can spend their
Yeah.
time doing something else.
You were a car. You pulled up in a car.
Yeah.
You were put in a box.
Yeah.
The box was carried up
That's
the
right.
steps.
but seriously, when he did pull up, he got out in like this camel hair coat, sunglasses from like literally like you were your character from The Aviator or something. It was like a scarf, a silk
Yeah,
scarf.
what is that with
like
the aviator and
aviator
you? Ever since you
sunglasses
did
from the
the
30s.
aviator, you've enveloped this character.
That's right. Listen, I think there's a little Hughes in all of us, and I just like to wear it on the outside.
Adam just mocks us with his hair every day.
So when you were in Party Down and no one watched it,
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
Thank you.
I'm just laughing. I was laughing because there's that article where it was like it received a 0.0. It's like an iconic show. It's like the Ben Stiller show. It's like iconic show that like is beloved by comedians.
Yeah.
It had
did.
What is a 0.0?
What ended up being our series finale, we were like, okay, maybe finally people are watching, because we had a little critical support at that point. And I remember John Embaum getting the ratings and telling us we got a 0.0. And it actually equaled out to 13,000 viewers,
That's amazing.
which is 0.0, I guess.
13,000.
13,000.
Like
They're
you
just-
could get them
they just-
together at a stadium.
Oh,
They
half
didn't-
a stadium.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
didn't give you the full answer. It was 0.000000001.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I don't know
I
how
know.
many zeros would have. Yeah.
They needed to. Maybe we got off the call too quickly, and they were just reading out.
When
the
you
zeros.
found that out, did you feel good about yourself or bad?
Great.
I wonder what cross section we're watching the Ben Stiller show.
That's it. I
back
bet
when we
all
were
of
on.
them.
Yeah.
yeah.
I
It's the
bet
same people.
every
They
single
were all
one.
10 years old.
That's right.
And
during Adam's school, when you were in school, you briefly tried to use the surname Quardero.
That's right. Cordero. I remember.
Adam
I remember.
Cordero.
I remember being in the library at the acting school I was at, writing Pacino, De Niro, Cordero, and just like looking at them
Oh my
and
God.
being like, "Yeah, I think this is it. I think this is what I'm gonna do."
Adam Cordero.
Because my mother's
Sicilian
maiden name
name, yeah.
was Quartararo. And I was
Okay.
like, that's
too
long.
much. Yeah. Yeah.
It's I had that when I was in college. I mean, when I was in college, I convinced Jim Gaffigan to have lunch with me, and I asked him for advice.
Yeah.
You know, he was in the 90s.
Yeah.
And at the end of it, I go, "Do you have any last advice?" He goes, "You got to change that name.
Very
You gotta
good, Jim
change that
Gaffigan.
last name.
Yeah, that's a very
You
good
gotta
Jim
change that
Gaffigan.
last name." I was just like, I went back to my college, and I said to my professor, I go, "What do you think should I change
Yeah.
my name?" And he goes, maybe make it a little more Irish and Italian. Call yourself Mickey Birbiglia. So for a period of time, I was writing out my signature as Mickey Birbiglia.
The comedy stylings of Mickey Birbiglia.
Mickey Biggs.
What if it was Mickey Birbiglia and Adam Cordero starring?
Could have been sitting here.
Yeah, starring in Severance.
Mickey and Cordero.
Didn't get that part. Mickey
Were
didn't
you?
get that part.
Was that in your
no.
Spike Lee phase where you had your goatee and your Knicks hat?
I was already at this point. I think Malcolm X was out, so I had my X hat.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Is there anything, Ben? Do you have anything as embarrassing as Adam Cordero?
No, Mike, I never took myself seriously.
Right. No,
or
of course not.
thought that I was, like cool. Yeah, no.
No, you did. You did. We all saw it. It was in the 1990s. It was on television.
But it's not on. You can't find that anywhere on YouTube or anything.
It's readily
like that.
available.
Okay.
No,
Because every talk show appearance, I was incredibly humble. Well,
I think you and I have something in common, which is, both. I think we were both very ambitious as young people.
Totally.
And
Yeah, I've heard you talk about it too.
Yes.
On the podcast with
I'm
friends.
I'm embarrassed when I look back at myself in my 20s and I'm like, I was so absurdly ambitious. And now I'm quietly ambitious. It's very subtle.
Yeah, sure. Me too. I mean, it's crazy to go look back at that. I see myself doing stuff. I'm going it's so cringy to me. I've there's like B-roll footage of me on the set of Reality Bites where they came and did some behind the scenes, and I'm walking around I'm 6 or 27, and I'm going, yeah, that's a grip, and he gets stuff. Hey, what are you guys up to? All right. Oh yeah, here's the sound man. Your arms get tired holding that thing.
Oh my God.
And I'm wearing a denim shirt and jeans, a denim on with beads. It's just ridiculous.
Oh man.
When you work with Noah and Wes, do you feel like you're still learning things about directing when you're working with other directors?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I feel like that's when I learn the most, because it's so interesting to see you work with you, see how you do it. Yeah, what is your process? Every director's process is different, and it's subjective because directing is subjective. So it should be different. It should be your own point of view. But you can pick up things and you go, oh, that's great. I mean, no Baumbach, no chairs on the set.
Right.
Right?
No chairs.
No chairs. I was doing Greenberg, and I think it was 10 days into shooting, and one day I'm where's the chairs? And oh my God, there's no chairs here. And that's his choice because he doesn't want to have people sitting around. And guess what? People find a place to sit down somewhere on the set.
That's interesting. Because
an apple
I
box
think we did that. You did that on Walter Mitty, maybe.
I did.
Yeah,
then I'll take something like that.
Right.
I'll go, you know what? That's a good idea.
Yeah.
No chairs. It keeps everybody more.
I read that about Greta on Greta Gerwig on Barbie. No phones.
Well, no
yeah.
phones.
That's
Definitely no
great.
phones.
No phones is great.
No phones.
Oh, yeah.
and
We had no phones.
And
on
crew
Building Fights.
have to use phones sometimes to communicate.
Yeah.
But for me, I'm no phones anywhere
no
near.
phone Severance?
No phones anywhere near the eye shot of the actors at all.
Yeah, the
Right.
phones
To me,
were cordoned off.
My least favorite thing is to see a dolly grip guy, hunched down while an actor is acting their brains out, and he's just scrolling or whatever. And by the way, it's fine because he's being respectful of not. But if I see the actor can't see it, but when I see it, it drives me crazy.
Oh, it drives me nuts.
Yeah.
Oh, the actors can see it.
No, the actors
I
can see it.
can see it in
Right.
the corner of my eye if someone.
Yeah. And
But
actors,
also-
it's such a vulnerable thing when you're doing it.
Oh my God. Yeah.
So as a director, you want to protect that environment for the actors. But by the way, you also have to be respectful of the crew too. That's the thing I didn't know back in Reality Bites days. I was all about the actors, and I was making jokes about the crew, hey, that guy. But then I realized, oh my God, these people are actually working really hard, and you have to figure out how to motivate them to want to be on the team because they haven't been with the script that you've been writing for 5 years. They just came on last week. So how can you? It's on you as a director to actually figure out a way to get everybody on board. Hey, we want to try to do something here that might be a little different. And these are the things we're going for.
Chris Walken's on the show, and he's great. And I saw him in an interview where he's like, I don't like cut. I don't like action. I don't like cut. You do action and cut?
Noah doesn't. By the way, Noah Baumbach doesn't do action.
Doesn't do action and cut.
What does he do?
But
he does begin or
begin. That's a nice one.
yeah, or it depends. Sometimes you have to say something like action to like cue the film, the dolly grip or somebody to move the camera or whatever.
Go.
And people don't know when it's starting. But if it's a scene where people are standing around or sitting at a table or something, you can just let the camera roll and just go, hey, whenever you're ready.
Whenever you're ready, yeah.
I don't like action as an actor because
Yeah.
it's, it is that thing of like, oh, okay, what am I supposed to do? I should do something, when really you just want to just be. And cut, Jessica Lee Gagne, a cinematographer I work with, we were doing Escape at Dannemora one day, and she's like, you say cut like too soon. She said to me one day. I was like,
really?
What? Like, yeah, just like let it roll a little. She's great. She's directed one of the episodes this season, and she's a very good director too.
Excellent.
But I was like, yeah, and it was really interesting. So I started like taking more time before I said cut. And it's so interesting what the actors do.
Yeah.
Because they keep going.
Christopher Walken, of course, is a legend. It's like
He's the best ever.
it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
At this point, do you have any actors who you direct where you're? Because if I were directing Chris Walken, I'd be so intimidated. Do you anyone you're intimidated by when you're directing them?
Yeah, I have natural sort of intimidation that I feel. I mean, with Chris, I feel it. And he's the sweetest guy in the world, and I've known him. I did a movie with him. I did my first play with him, 1986, The House of Blue Leaves.
Oh, my gosh.
He was in it, and I had a part. And he knew my folks, and still intimidated by him because he's Chris Walken. And also I don't know, he's an actor. It's hard. You don't really want to say too much from my point of view. It's like,
that's how I feel.
you want to let him do his thing, and then think if there's something that you can offer up that can somehow help, and it's usually something like, hey, maybe you want to take a little more time with this, or I thought that was great what you did when, is there a different direction to go here? Maybe, or, something like that.
He's so great, obviously, but he's so lived in as far as the role goes and who he is, and he's so relaxed that it is impossible to differentiate between life and what he's doing on camera. It's so seamless and real. It's extraordinary just to be there watching what he's doing.
Yeah.
He's just
full relaxation.
fully, and he it's just all 100% there. It's really something to see.
What are your criticisms of Ben as a director?
Well, how long?
I heard you say that.
No, I know.
No, you tried to say it where
this
only
is-
Adam would hear
just
you.
Just imagine it's just me and Adam right now. You're watching this on television.
What are your criticisms of Ben as a director?
Ben,
Mike,
You thought
Mickey,
somehow that would miss me.
No, I just thought let's open it up a little bit. Let's get real.
I appreciate the question.
First half of the interview
So
is
the
kind
fluffy,
of like
fluffy part.
friendly
What is left for you to explore?
Yeah, what's left?
What
Ben,
else is
what's
there
left
for you to
before
do?
you die?
I
And
get
then
how you do
Adam,
it.
what do you hate about Ben?
I mean,
This is how Birbiglia does it.
It's the Birbiglia twist.
It's not the gotcha interview. It's the got Ben interview. All right, go ahead.
oh man. Listen,
You can be totally honest.
we have we have enough time, right? Like we can really go.
We can do 10 minutes on it.
Seriously, without
There's he's always trying to trick us,
Right.
trick us into
Sure.
performances, and then playing mind games with
Mind
the
games,
actors
yeah,
off
sure.
off camera,
Sure, I've heard
like
that.
Michael Douglas and Oliver Stone, like that kind of shit, like diabolical.
In Wall
Oh
Street,
my
yeah,
god,
sure.
just frightening all of us into performances.
Oh my god.
You did, you have to, in the first, I think it's the first episode of the whole series, you have to deal with your wife's death.
Yeah.
Characters. And you were directing through a headset. And you had to, right? Because you weren't,
Yeah, I was
There.
like on a walkie-talkie that he had in the car. Yeah.
he had to be like, I think the line was like, just like, open yourself up or something like that.
Yeah, I think we had done a couple takes where I was crying in the car, and And, you know, I had lost my mom about 7 months or so before we were shooting the show, 6 months. And so I was really sort of still processing her death, and I was with my family during lockdown when she died. And so I was really kind of protected and with my wife and kids. And so they really kind of cushioned the blow. But then when I got out here to shoot the show, I was by myself and realized I had a lot of grieving to do and a lot of processing to do. And all I had was the show.
Yeah.
So I was like, why not, you know, maybe I can do some of that processing here. And so for that scene, you know, we had both kind of lost a parent in recent times. It was 5 years ago. So I think there was a sort of unsaid connection there. And so after a couple takes, Ben was just like, you know, really feel free to open yourself up and just let it all out. Like, really feel it. And like no one's watching, just let go. And so I did, and it felt incredible.
Yeah.
Honestly. And he was kind of saying stuff over the walkie that was helpful, and it was great. It was you know, I was really glad we did it.
I told him a PA was making eye contact with him.
Yeah.
And that's what
And that really gets me every time.
Gets me.
Every time.
No, he was amazing. He was like amazing. And that's when, as an actor, you're totally on your own.
Yeah.
You know, you're totally on your own. And all you can do as a director is try to like empathize and give space to, I'm not saying holding space.
Holding space, yes.
Just like
holding space.
hold space. But really, honestly, it's like you gotta just like, this is crazy stuff to have to do, right? It's there's no, like, how do you access that? So all you can do is just try to give them a place where they go, you know what, just go, you know, take your time and just allow them a safe place to do it.
I think that's one of the things you don't realize when you're sometimes watching something. It's like it's like for that actor who's in that case, Adam on screen in close up or whatever it is, like they're experiencing in real time the most personal thing. And it's so deeply vulnerable.
It's so vulnerable, yet it's what we all as an audience crave.
It's what we crave
and need. And so it's mystical, it's a mystery, it's, you know, so I was just grateful that he was so available and there. And that really was another moment for me when I was like, you know, this is what the show is it has to have this level of, you know, of reality. And I was just grateful for Adam. And then after that, I was like, Adam is like, this guy's like really good.
That's
I mean, I knew it. No, I knew it. You know, I knew it.
And I was
he's
like,
really good.
Ben, don't look at me.
No, I wasn't allowed to talk to him at that point, but still.
The Adam, what actor has broken you the most laughing in a scene? Because I was watching this and I was like, oh, everyone's really funny, and everyone on Parks and Rec is really funny.
Yeah.
Do you break in scenes?
Yeah, I break. But I'm also, sometimes I'm like stoned.
I'm sorry. This guy.
Do I not break?
This is an acting machine.
Is that right?
Yes. Technical acting machine guy who doesn't break. Well, you will break before he breaks every time.
Really?
Yeah.
I guess,
you know that's
yeah,
true,
maybe
right?
so.
I mean, I don't know from previous things,
Yeah,
but just
yeah.
from having watched.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm trying to think of, you know, when I broke the most was when I did a tiny role in Knocked Up, and I've never been on a, this is the first time I was on a set where Judd was like, say that, and like calling out lines, and takes would go on for 20 minutes and all this. I was like, what the this is great, but what is going on?
What is going on?
And Ken Jeong, who had never really been on camera before, was there, and he did this run where he just went and me and Seth are on camera with him, and I'm supposed to just stand there next to Ken and just stone-faced. I was a nurse.
Yeah.
And Seth was on the other side of him, and Ken just went off, and I saw Seth, like, I could only see the back of him, and I saw him, like, going like this.
Trying not
and
to
so
laugh.
I was like, oh, good.
Like
he's
shaking a little bit.
He's laughing, so I can laugh. And so I just fully broke a few times. And then watching the scene months later when it was on YouTube or something, I see that Seth is not breaking. He's just like contorting his face so
God.
he doesn't break.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm standing on the other side just laughing. So,
But what about like on Step Brothers?
oh yeah. Yeah, we would break all the time. on
Did you
Step
would you
Brothers.
would you ever crack yourself up?
I was, you know what? I was so freaked out and nervous on Step Brothers that I probably didn't break that much because I was so worried
But in
about
that dinner table scene,
Yeah.
as they're breaking up happening.
Yeah.
Ben, when what advice would you, because you're on both sides of the casting table, what advice would you give for actors auditioning?
Know that they want you to get the job almost as much as you want to get the job.
Yeah.
They're looking for the right person. So
Right. Their job is actually to find someone
yeah,
who's great for
when
this.
you find the right person as a director or writer, you're so happy. You're
Yeah.
so happy that that person came in and they were the right person. And know that it's so many different factors that don't have to do with your acting talent. And that's the big thing, I'd say, because auditioning is hard.
Yeah.
And you just have to kind of keep doing it too. It's one of those things, I think, that you literally get better and better as the more you do it, because you have more experience, you get used to the situations more, you start to relax more.
Yeah.
My daughter just got a job in an off-Broadway play, her first play.
That's awesome.
And she said she had this moment in the audition where she was like, "Oh, I was like, I'm relaxed. I'm in this. I
Good for
feel
her, man.
I feel okay here. I feel free to just do my thing."
This is called a slow round. What's the best piece of advice someone's given you that you used?
Early, the first episode of Party Down we shot, I got good advice from Fred Savage, who was directing the episode. Because up until then I had like smaller roles, supporting roles, and it's really hard playing small roles and things because you're trying to. The bad habit I was in was trying to stuff so much into whatever time I had just to show that I had all these ideas and whatever. And we started shooting Party Down, and I was in a scene with Lizzie Kaplan where we meet each other and kind of start flirting. And after a take, he was like, "Hey, you can relax. Like, you've got a lot of time. We've got all these episodes. You're going to be, we'll watch you take this whole journey, and then you're meeting Lizzie's character. Just talk to her. Don't worry about it. We'll get to it."
Oh, that's nice.
Can I just that made me think of when I was in a movie with Andrew McCarthy in 1986. One of the first jobs I had, and he'd done a lot of movies. We were in a scene in a car. We were like best friends, and we just had an argument. And the scene was me just dropping him off in my car, and he got out. There's no dialogue. And I remember he just turned to me and said, like, we really don't have to do anything here because the scene just happened, the big fight,
Yeah.
and the audience will fill it in. And I was very similar to you at that point in my career where I was doing a lot, trying to be funny and like, and he was, and I think he probably was picking up on that. He was like, "Hey man, we can just like be," and he was so right, because the audience will fill it in.
It's so true. The audience does a lot.
Can you think of a time when you were so scared you ran away?
First thought that comes to my mind is when I was on the plane going to camp when I was about 10 years old and got scared that I didn't want to go to Maine. I was in New York, and somehow convinced the Delta Airlines flight crew to turn the plane around on the tarmac and go back to the gate to drop me off.
That's outrageous.
And did they?
Yep.
They have to. When
They did.
You were just terrified to fly at all?
No, I didn't. I got homesick.
Oh, okay.
I had second thoughts about the whole thing. It's like,
What did the other passengers? How'd they feel about that?
it's pretty funny because I was on. So we had a housekeeper named Hazel, a Jamaican housekeeper who was part of our family, and she had 7 of her own kids, and she lived in Brooklyn, and we lived in Manhattan, and she would come stay with us 5 days a week, and her kids were on their own for, you know, they should go home on the weekends, but they became like brothers and sisters to us too. And Lincoln, her son, was with me. My parents were sending Lincoln and me to camp together. And he lived in Brooklyn. He didn't get a chance to get out of the city. It was an exciting thing for him. And he was so into it.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
And I'm there, his
Poor
seatmate,
Lincoln in
and
the
I'm like,
story.
and I like, yeah, exactly. And I'm like, basically, I'm like, every man for himself, Lincoln. And I'm like,
Bye-bye.
I'm not, we're turning this thing around. So we turn the plane around. My mother is at the gate, really not happy with me when the gate opens and I come running out. And Lincoln stayed on because he was, you know, excited to go to camp.
Yeah.
And the plane took off without me. And
What, did you flag down a flight attendant, or did you like run up to the front?
yeah, I think I must have run up to the front.
Oh,
I mean,
man.
I kind of have blocked it out, but it was definitely
That's what
a
this
thing.
show's all about.
I was
Thank you.
about to take off on a flight with my son when he was probably 9 or 10, and we were like on the tarmac, and he suddenly was like, made a decision that this whole flying thing is bullshit, and he does not want to participate and be on a plane, and I had to ask them to turn around and bring us
You do
back.
the same thing?
Yeah,
go.
yeah.
Wow.
My God.
A man after
Yeah.
my
I didn't
own
even know
heart.
this is an option.
That's right.
wanna
I know.
talk to
The
him.
Oh,
turn around the plane on the
any,
tarmac
listen,
option? What?
anytime you want,
This is pre
change your
9/11.
mind, you go back.
Jeez. Okay. Who are you jealous of?
Like right now?
I mean, Adam Scott.
Other than Adam Scott.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's what I said.
Because I really am jealous of Adam Scott. Okay.
Are you jealous of each other?
Sure,
I'm definitely jealous of you.
sure.
I think it's a kind of a healthy. I feel like it's a healthy jealousy, right?
You know what I'm jealous of with Ben is, you were talking about earlier about ambition stuff, the work ethic, because we talk all the time and we're always like talking about like the show and stuff, and I'm like, when I get a break from work, I'm always like, okay, I think I can squeeze in a Survivor episode or like Real Housewives. You know, I'm just always like shutting my brain off but Ben's always like, yeah, I was just editing and I'm hopping on a call right now.
That's
And
really
and
funny.
then I have a meeting for this thing. And I'm just like, Jesus Christ. Okay. Holy shit. So that just ethic, that work ethic is, I'm a busy person, but really filling the day up is something that I feel like my mind is too like chaotic to even organize it.
I was thinking about this with the show. It's like it's a weird irony that it's on Apple, right? Isn't it?
I think it's kind of a.
It's like Apple
kind of-
would do the thing that happens on the show in 10 years from now.
I look at it as synchronicity.
Do you?
Yeah, I do. I think. I mean, look, whatever you want to like, sort of like what your interpretation of what that means. Like it's like, you know, these big corporations. But the Apple aesthetic, you know,
Yeah. No, I know.
all of that, it just kind of, to me, like fits with the show fits with Apple, you know, Apple TV Plus. Like it's, and that doesn't mean, you know, anything other than it just does.
Are they ever like, so how do you do it? How does it work? How can we do it?
They're not a med tech company.
We'd like to do it. We'd like to do this to people.
I wish the audience could see the look you're giving
Oh,
as
they
you're
will on YouTube.
portraying the Apple
What are they?
executive.
How do you do it? How do you do it?
Okay, now it's shifting.
Now they're Norwegian.
Now it's turning into something
This
else.
could be the character that we do
do
on
they do?
Severance.
That's
This could
right.
be-
There it is.
Jesus. Ben's gonna have me read for 10 other roles
That's
and
right.
not give me those roles also. Someday.
He's looking forward to it.
Someday.
I told you it took me 3 years before I got a part. So hurt people.
Ben, Ben just keeps saying, you have to relax, Mike. Just like I said on Working It Out.
I
you
said-
have to
Got
relax in the
time.
audition.
Mike, I said I'm on your side. I'm rooting for you. Now do it again.
I do it again. I do it right this time. Do it funny.
Everyone wants you to get it right.
Okay. Thank
do
you
it
very
funny.
much.
Do it real. That's what he keeps saying to me over and
Do
over
it
again.
real.
And then after I leave the audition, he texts me, "No, do it real this time."
Right now, do it real. Wherever you are.
Oh God! While we're being critical, I think you both are too handsome to be comedians.
I think Adam Scott is for sure.
I don't think anyone would accuse me of being a comedian.
I think
We talk about that a
this
lot.
métier. I think this métier has been defined by Scott's physical appearance, which straddles the line between honky and nondescript. Hangdog eyes, thick chestnut hair, and a cockatiel crest. So the last thing we do is Working It Out for a cause. Is there a nonprofit that you guys would like to contribute to? We will contribute and link to them in the show notes.
Yeah, the Center for Reproductive Rights.
Great. I will contribute to them. I will link to them in
you.
the show notes. And thank you both for making this brilliant show.
Sorry, I wasn't speaking for both. I was
I don't really support any of these things.
Well, I'm sure, Ben, I would guess that you would be something with refugees because you do so much international refugee work.
UNHCR, UN Refugee Agency, for sure. Especially right now with everything that's going on in the world and just the attitude towards people who are stateless.
One of the many things I admire about you is all the work that you do.
Thanks.
Because you are one of the people who shows up and does the work with that and travels the world and shows up for people who are struggling like that. And So
I'm on the fence.
on which thing?
Ben's work with that.
His nonprofit.
Yeah.
Doesn't
where
think
he
it's
travels
genuine.
the
You don't think it's
world.
on
No,
refugees?
refugees?
It might be great. I just haven't done the research, so I'm.
What do you mean you
I'm
haven't
holding
done the
an opinion.
research?
I just haven't looked into
We've
it.
seen the videos of him in these
I haven't seen all the videos.
You need to see the raw footage to believe it's
I need
real.
to see
You
everything.
were talking about that jealousy thing before.
Yeah.
It's like
Not jealous. Just haven't seen the footage.
You know, Ben does things that are selfless.
Ben does a lot of things.
What does that mean? What do you mean he
Take
does?
what you want from that.
No,
I'm just saying he does a lot of things.
No, I'm saying to you, Ben does a lot of nonprofit work for people other than Ben Stiller and Adam Scott. And what do you do?
I keep an eye on what Ben's doing.
Adam-
and I'm telling you.
for profit, Scott.
Oh,
That's right.
For profit.
do you-
I like
I'm sorry. Let me rephrase.
cash money.
Let me
okay?
rephrase the question. Are there any for-profit businesses that you guys like to support that we'll link to in the show
Yeah.
notes?
Okay. Where's the camera? Which camera is
to
mine?
this one
Okay.
right here,
okay.
right down the barrel.
Listen, everybody.
Go to AdamScott.com.
AdamScott.com. We got all kind. We got some sunglasses, camel hair coats. We got all kinds of shit.
Cockatoos for sale?
Cockatoos.
Oh, the
Cockatoos crest. You'll find it there.
The Cockatiels crest sweatshirts are really
Great,
nice.
right?
Yeah.
Thank you. You put the hood up and it has this swoop. It's great.
Adam Scott, Ben Stiller, thank you for being you.
Thanks,
and
Mike.
being here today.
I don't want to leave, Mike. I want to
I
stay.
know. This is fun.
It's safe and warm here. I like it.